Hello Year 9 students, this is the NAPLAN Numeracy Advanced level. If you've done the standard level and the intermediate level with me, then you're ready for this advanced level, and there's some challenging questions in here. Firstly, we're going to arrange these fractions here, 3/5, 5/8, 7/10, and 13 on 20 from the lowest to the highest. And the method that we're going to use is we're going to look at the numbers in the denominator of each fraction. And we have 5, 8, 10, and 20. And what we want to find is the lowest common denominator. Here we call it the lowest common denominator, LCD, because it has to be a number which is common to every single one of them, so that each number will be a multiple of it. At this very moment, if you look at 20 here, we can see that 10 goes into 20 and 5 will go into 20. Unfortunately, 8 does not go into 20, so 20 cannot be our lowest common denominator. If we double 20, we could check if each of these numbers are multiples of 40. So does 5 go into 40? It does. Does 8 go into 40? It does, goes 5 times. Does 10 go into 40? It does, goes 4 times. And does 20 go into 40? Yes, it does, it goes twice. So what does it take to change 5 into 40? We need to multiply it by 8. So this will be 3 times 8 is 24. The second fraction we need to multiply by 5, and both the denominator and the numerator, and the numerator now will be 25. If we multiply 10 by 4 and 7 by 4, we'll get 28 in here, and double 13 because we're doubling 20, and we get 26. Now, because the denominator is the same, all the fractions can now be compared with each other. So the lowest number that we're looking for would be 24. So we start with 1. That would be the lowest number. The second number is 5/8, which will be the second number. The third number is going to be this one, and the fourth fraction is going to be 7/10. So we can now write 3/5 first, and the second one's 5/8, and the third one is 13 on 20, and the highest one is going to be 7/10. So when you look at this question, you might be wondering, where do I start? Well, the question says that which has the same value as 9 to the power of 4. The 9 is a base, and here you've got answers with a base 4, with a base 6, with a base 3, and with a base 3 again. The best thing to do would be to start with the 9 to the power of 4 and see what that really looks like. In the third mini test of standard level, we already touched on the power values. So go back to the standard level and have a look if you are still finding trouble with the powers. They're also called exponents. So 9 to the power of 4 can be written as 9 multiplied by 9, multiplied by 9, and multiplied by 1 more 9. You're multiplying it 4 times. What can we make out of this? What about each 9? A 9 is a square number, and 9 can be written as 3 times 3. And that means that this 9 can also be written as 3 times 3. And this third 9 can be written as 3 times 3, and the fourth one can be also written as 3 times 3. Now we've got lots of 3's in here. In fact, we've got 8 3's. So what happens if we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3? I've got to have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. That means we've got 3 to the power of 8. So that would be the same thing as saying 3 to the power of 8. And that's good enough for us because our answer to this could be D. Some questions in maths are quite wordy, and this is one of those which is quite wordy. We've got 30% of the competitors representing a club that received a medal. I'm just going to highlight these percentages. And now we're also asked what percentage of the club's competitors received a gold medal. And so some of you might want to see this visually. So I'm just going to do this here. I've got a number line and I'm representing 10% here, that much, 20% and 30%. And altogether we've got 100%. Well, we've only got 30% of the competitors of a club that received a medal. The rest of it we really don't care. We're only interested in this part here. And of these, what we're only interested is in this part over here. We're only interested in 20%. Okay, so we want 20% of this 30%. And again, in one of the standard levels, I think we started talking about how to change percentages into fractions. And it's really important that you understand that 20% is the same thing as saying 1/5. Okay, I've already discussed this before with 20-cent pieces. If you've got 20-cent piece, how many pieces would you need to make $1 or 100 cents? You would need 5 of them. In that case, we can really say that what we want is 1/5 of 30%. See how easy this is? A big wordy problem, very easy to do. So what is 1/5 of 30%? That would be divide 30 by 5 and you get 6%. So we're going to write down here 6. We've already got the percentage up here, so that's all we need to do is write 6. Which of these are equal to 0.32? And you select all correct answers, which means that there must be more than one. As you can see, all the questions are in decimals and all of them have a different operations. There is a multiplication, there is a division, there is an addition, and there is a subtraction. I want to do the addition and the subtraction first because they are pretty straightforward. In adding, we need to remember that we're going to put the decimal point underneath so it matches. So if the decimal point is there, the next decimal point will have to go exactly underneath it, and that's 2, 0.2. Well, after that, adding is straightforward. 2 comes down, 2 and 1 is 3, the decimal point stays here, and 0. And it is actually one of the ones that you want. So we'll highlight B. Now let's try subtraction. Again, the decimal points must match. 1 does have a decimal point after the 1, and I can put 0 after it. 8 from 0 doesn't go. So we must borrow a 1, and this becomes now 9. And 1 becomes 0 because there was not enough in there. So 8 from 10 is 2, 6 from 9 is 3, the decimal place is here, and 0 from 0 is just 0. And again, we've got 0.32, which is also correct. Now we'll try and do the multiplication and the division. So when doing multiplication of 0.4 multiplied by 0.8, we'll move the decimal point This decimal point will move it 1 to the right, and we'll move this one also 1 to the right. And so now we are happy to say that we can just do mod 4 times 8. Now this will be equal to 32. But because we have moved the decimal point 2 places, okay, then our answer to this is going to be not 32, but we're going to have to move 2 places back, 1, 2. And what that means is that we have 0.32. So we moved the decimal places first, multiplied it normally, just ignore the decimals, and then you need to put the decimal points back, the same number that you put forward. And this relates to multiplication. You need to remember this. And this answer is also correct, so we can highlight it. And now we're going to work through division. So we have 6.4 and we're dividing it over 0.2. We also move the decimal places. So we'll move the decimal place to the right at the top and the decimal place to the right in the denominator. And they have to be equal places from the top and from the bottom. You may not move different amount of decimal places at the top and different amount at the bottom. They have to be the same amount. Now that means that we have a new number, which is a ratio of 64 over 2. And that means that our number 64 divided by 2 is 32. Now this time, because it's division and this is a ratio, we do not go back and insert the decimal points backwards. That's the big difference between division and multiplication. And this answer is not the correct answer, so we do not highlight it. So finding the largest value here, we've got 2 fractions, we've got 1 decimal number, and we've got 1 percentage number. To compare the values for the largest value, we really need to change them into one type, either the fractions, either the decimal, or either the percentage. I can tell that 1/8 is going to be bigger than 1/9, but this is not going to help me for the decimal number and the percentage. My decision here is to change all these numbers into decimal numbers. So I'll start with 1/8. I'll divide 8 into 1 and I'll add a number of zeros after the decimal point because I know that they'll be needed there. Now 8 into 1 doesn't go, but 8 into 10 does. Because I've got a decimal point here, I must put 1 there. So 8 into 10 goes once and 2 over. 8 into 20 goes twice and 4 over. And 8 into 40 goes 5 times. So our answer, therefore, in decimal is that this is 0.125. So that's the decimal for A. Now we can do B. Not much to do there because we already have the answer to that one. And that is equal to 0.16. And now we'll do 8%. So 8%, another way of writing this, is 8 over 100. In terms of decimal points, it's quite easy. We just need to put 2 decimal points back, so it's 0.8. And now for the last one, which is just another fraction. So we'll divide 9 into, again, 1.000. 9 into 1 doesn't go. 9 into 10 goes once and once over. 1 into 10 goes once and 1 over. And again, 1 into 10 goes once. So basically we've got 0.111. 0.111. And so if I want to know which is the largest value, I'll write them out and then compare it. And I'll write them one underneath the other. So remembering that the decimal point goes always in the same place. And then 0.08. At this moment, I'm just putting all of them down here, 1, 1, 1. Now the largest value will be the one we're going to look at first of all, the first place after the decimal point. They've got all 1, 1 except for the 0, so that 0 is definitely going to be crossed out. We're not doing that one. Now we're going to go to the second placing, and the second placing is 2, 6, 8, and 1. And 6 is the largest. 8 doesn't count, it's been crossed out. So therefore, this is the largest number, 0.16. And we just highlight B. So what is the value of 0.3 all squared? That means that 0.3 must be multiplied by 0.3 twice. So how do we deal with decimal points when we're multiplying? The number of places after the decimal point is here 1 and here 2. So if we multiply 3 times 3, which is 9, we must now move the decimal places back before the decimal place, which here at the moment is here. So if we go back 2 places, that means we can go here, and we'll also go another place over here. Insert a 0 in here, and our decimal place will come here. So the number is 0.09, and that is A. So NAPLAN questions will test your ability to multiply decimal numbers.